guys? J Chip here. First, before we jump into any recaps, guys, just take a look at this. I have to announce this milestone for the Platinum Discord of Parlayers. Finally surpassed the 300 unit mark in profits since launch in June 2025. As you can see here, a bunch of the biggest wins. Of course, this is just a recap from the last 2 months, December, January, because I didn't end up getting a recap post for these wins. But of course, a lot more wins in this, but this is just a little preview of what we hit over the last 2 months. So again, over 300 units in profit if you've been tailing since June. So just a huge shout out to that Platinum Discord. Of course, links to that will be in the description of this video if you guys are curious to join. And yeah, with that being said, I had to give you a little shout out there. We will jump into the recap that I had in last week's video. I did have this Drake May free square play. Of course, this didn't play out yet. Super Bowl is coming up this Sunday. TJ McConnell play under 8.5 points did cash, and this VJ Edgecombe play, I remember vividly so many books having his over under at 13.5 points. I do remember an exchange had him as a heavy underdog, maybe plus 120. I'm not sure what the research was, and they had him favored to go under this 14.5 mark. Guys, he breaks our back with 0.5 over his 14.5 line. He finishes with 15, and this reds out the pick, and of course reds out the entire slip because it is a power play. So that chalks down a unit. I think we're still at 25.75. I could be wrong. Again, in the description of this video, I always keep a little tracker of where we're at in regards to the free YouTube slips, but definitely I think we're plus 25 units in the green since the start of this channel. So a lot of milestones here, but yeah, we're just gonna try to keep rolling. Sucks that we couldn't cash that out because of course, if Edgecombe cashed that play, free square would have cashed, we would have been up another 5 units. But we will continue going. And of course, you guys know I love recording on these days where Prizepicks has these promos, and it's a Doncic over 25.5 points tackle play, 6-point discount from his original 31.5 line. I will get this in, of course, not too much research to break down here. If you guys really want, you could check the tools. Let me just see Doncic's line. Prizepicks, here we go. Minus 181 favorite, of course. It's a 6-point discrepancy from his market value at 31.5. Again, not too much research to break down here. We should be playing these all the time. They're promos. They're supposed to cash. Again, they're not always guaranteed to cash. Anything can happen in this space, but I will be rolling with this over here. We're just aiming for a 3-man here. I only have to look for 2 plays from the tools. Shouldn't be too hard. And jumping right into the tools, we have the player prop optimizer and the sharp money tool here for our fantasy sports breakdown. And I'm just going to recap. And what the sharp money tool does is basically compare the Prizepicks lines back to peer-to-peer exchanges like ProfitX, like Novig. So we could see where the sharp bettors are really placing their money, where they believe a player's over-under is favored to go in which direction. And we want to follow these sharp bettors in particular because they have the resources, they have the projection models, they have all these things that us casual bettors do not have. That's why I kind of want to insight into what they're thinking aligned, like where they will play out, where the player will finish either over or under their line. It's why we have this tool on the site. It's really important that we try to follow and mimic these guys as much as possible. Again, I'm only getting the info from our site, the data from our site. I can't really tell you what I think a player is going to go over or under. I'm just going based off the sharp bettors on the peer-to-peer exchanges. And I'm also going based off the sports books and other fantasy apps like Prizepicks. So that includes Underdog Fantasy, DraftKings Pick 6, and Better Picks right now on the player prop optimizer. As you guys see in the videos, my strategy is really just to start off with the sharp money tool, get those super condensed green plays on the Prizepicks board, and then cross-reference that tool with this tool, the optimizer, just to see if we're getting the best value on Prizepicks for any given line in comparison to the sportsbooks markets and the fantasy sports apps market as well, what you see here in these 3 columns. So again, just going back to that 1-2 punch in the strategy, I will start off with the sharp money tool on Novig. There is a play on the top of the tool that I like automatically. It's a play that I gave out in one of my VIP slips this morning. Honestly, not really a good sign that it's still here because you kind of want these to be bumped, but I do like this Royce O'Neal play in this Suns game. His under 5 is minus 102. It's not a favorite. However, it's a push prop we're dealing with. Now, if you guys have been watching these videos, you guys know I love seeing minus lines and juice on a push prop, meaning a prop that's ending in 0.0 or just a whole number at 5. So it's 54.22%. It's a green play, beautiful. But if I just go across the sportsbook market here, I have FanDuel 1, I have Caesars 2, and I got Flip 3. All books that have something in common. They're all offering juice or a minus line to his under 4.5. And this means that they believe he is not a favorite, but he is a good enough chance to finish with 4 or less rebounds. And obviously that would green out our plate. That's our desired outcome. So for the example on FanDuel here, minus 106 to Royce O'Neal's under 4.5 means that they're charging any user or better on their site, on their platform, 6 cents on the dollar to bet Royce O'Neal finishing with 4 or less rebounds. You're paying more to win a bit less, right? That's almost like he's a favorite. It's almost like you're paying for a favorite outcome. Of course, he's not the favorite in this case. His favorite would be over 4.5. But because we're getting his push line at 5, we get that insurance, right? Because if he does finish with 5 on the nose, which again, he is favored to do as per FanDuel and the rest of the markets here, then guess what? We just gray out the pick. We'll revert down to the nearest payout. But if he finishes with 4 or less, which he's not favored to do, but he has a good enough chance to do as per these minus lines under his 4.5, then we green out the play. So it's kind of not a win-win on both sides, but I'd say a win-draw kind of situation here, which is why I love this insurance we get on the push props. And if you just go on the sharp money tool here, plus 160 to Royce O'Neal's over 5.5. So the sharp bettors on Novik are basically confirming with the market saying that, yes, he's super unlikely that he goes for 6 or more rebounds, which would obviously break our pick here. So we do want to stay in this 5 and under range, which is what we're going to get on Prizepicks. I'm going to cross-reference with the optimizer really quickly just to see that he's not offered on other apps as well. So we could assume he's either been discounted at this line or removed from these apps completely because he's pretty favored to go for 5 or less rebounds. The last thing I want to touch on this prop is the alternate line. So when you're on Prizepicks, they offer alternate lines. You got Goblin projections. They're telling us he's super favored to go over the Goblin projections, and the Demon projections, which Prizepicks is basically saying that he's super favored to go under, right? Because they're paying you a lot more to take these overs because they are less likely to hit. These are what we call underdogs. So if I just go here to his nearest Goblin line, which he's favored to go over, it's 3.5. So Prizepicks is telling us that he's favored to go for 4 or more rebounds. Cool. We kind of already knew that. And if I go to his nearest Demon line, they have him at 5.5, which is basically, again, something we already know. He's favored to go for 5 or less rebounds, as we see by these sharp bettors on Novik here, right? He's favored to go under 5.5. So where does that leave our desired projection outcome for Royce O'Neal? Because Prizepicks is saying he's favored to go for 4 or more. He's also favored to go for 5 or less. That leaves our desired range from 4 to 5 rebounds. That's exactly where we want to be priced in at this Royce O'Neal insurance line at 5. That's why we're getting him at 5. If he was a 4.5 line here, I probably would skip over this play completely. Because we get it at 5, I will be rolling it under. So now we just need one more play to go through here. There's a couple nice plays here. I'm just going to refresh both the tools, see what we could cook up. I want to check if my play of the day is still here. I had Isaiah Stewart under 9.5. Of course, they bumped him down. So shout out to everyone who's been following the socials. I posted this earlier as I do on the daily. Again, links in the description to that. But yeah, they already bumped it down to 8.5. So this pick's kind of null now. It's kind of void. I think we're gonna roll with this play. It is a yellow play, but I was looking at it a bit earlier. I was actually looking at this Moses Moody play under 14.5, which is still a good play. Home market's price came at 13.5 plus 122 is over. But what I am liking a bit more is this Moses Moody points under 20.5 PRA. We're getting some books price game at 50-50 odds to his over under. It's his FanDuel line, which I absolutely love. We're getting a 1 PRA discrepancy with his line on Prizepicks compared back to this FanDuel line. Again, his overs plus money to his over 20.5. So we're checking off discrepancy here with the sports market. We're checking off the peer-to-peer exchanges agreeing that his unders favored play as per the consensus tool on parlayers. And if I cross-reference with the optimizer, of course, the second part of our strategy, I typed in Moody here on the optimizer. His PRA came up under 20.5. We get 2 other competitors to Prizepicks, Underdog Fantasy, and the better picks, both pricing him at 19.5. So they're agreeing with the market that he should be priced at an over under 19.5, which is why we're getting good value on his under 20.5 if he's still available at this line on Prizepicks. He is. I'll check his alternate lines, nothing crazy there. But this is going to do it for me. I'm going to check ProfitX. Maybe he's a higher plus line. And this is beautiful. So thank God I checked ProfitX to show us that he's actually a plus 129 to his over 20.5 PRA. So this is just giving us more confidence because now we know the sharp bettors on yes, Novig. They're telling us his under's favored. But now we got the sharp bettors on ProfitX telling us that his under's super favored because his over's a heavy underdog at this 20.5 mark. So loving that. And also, again, just touching this again, loving that FanDuel has him as a 50-50 chance to go for over under 19.5. So they're basically saying there's 50% odds that he finishes with 19 or less PRA. So good discrepancy on this one. I'll do a quick recap and then I'll get in $5. I am limited on this account for every slip for $5. You guys are more than welcome to max out this tackle that you have on this slip, but I will get into $5 before they bump anything, and I'll get this uploaded for you guys ASAP. But yeah, let me just recap this slip really quickly. Doncic promo or tackle play. Don't have to go too much in depth about that one. We're taking his over every day of the week. Royce O'Neal under 5 rebounds. We're going for that push prop under. Good insurance. Royce O'Neal's got a lot of books pricing him with some juice to finish with 4 or less rebounds. And then Moses Moody under 20.5 PRA. He's a heavy underdog to go over this line on both exchanges. And the whole market is pricing his over under PRA at 19.5. So we will roll with this 3-man. And thank you guys for all the recent support. As always, it's been J Chip. I will see you in the next one.